Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is staying warm. It is very cold outside. I am coming to you live on Thursday night because the Eagles have finally hired an offensive coordinator. That's right, they have hired 33-year-old Sean Mannion, and for those of you who don't know, he is a former backup quarterback in the league. He is relatively young, 33 years old, and he spent the last 2 years in the Green Bay Packers organization. And he doesn't have a history of calling plays, although he was the quarterback's coach last year, so he helped develop Jordan Love, and he also helped develop Malik Willis, whose career looked totally lost in Tennessee, and then he got to Green Bay, and he honestly outperformed Jordan Love in a small sample size, but that's still something good he could put on his resume, and evidently it helped him get the job. And before that, he'd learned under Matt LaFleur, obviously with Green Bay. He learned under Kevin O'Connell. All these Shanahan tree type of guys who I think are the best offensive minds in the game. And it also reminds me of way back when the Eagles took a chance on Andy Reid, who didn't have a history of calling plays and came from Green Bay. I believe he was their quarterback's coach, he worked with them in some offensive capacity. That was so long ago, I don't remember. I was like 3 years old. Who cares? Anyway, so is it a good hire? Is it not a good hire? Well, obviously we have to wait and see, but I like it because it's the type of hire. It's a high ceiling type of hire. It's a high risk, high reward. But I do want to push back on the high risk thing because all these people are saying, it's a really high risk. He's never called plays before, and it's like, what's the worst that could happen? Could it possibly be any worse than last year? Like, what's the worst that could happen? You could have the worst coached unit in all of football. Well, they had that last year, so how bad could it be? I mean, the issue last year, it was a play calling issue. But the issue last year mainly was just the entire offensive system. So if you build a better foundation, and granted, this is all assuming that Nick Sirianni lets him do his job, and Nick Sirianni has come out and said in a statement that Sean Mannion will be calling plays. Now, that's great. But is he going to be calling plays from his own offense? Or is he going to be calling plays from the same 5 plays that are a part of your playbook, your middle school playbook? That's what we're going to have to wait to see. That's what we're not going to know until the first week of September, so it stinks. And maybe they'll talk to the media and they'll answer that, but I highly doubt Nick Sirianni is just going to go, yeah, I'm going to give up the offense entirely, and Sean's going to have the freedom to do what he wants, create his own offensive system. I highly doubt that's going to happen. So while I love the hire in a vacuum, I think it's a really good outside-the-box hire, especially when you consider the names that they were thinking that I didn't really like, and I'm not even going to get into them right now. We don't have to talk about them anymore, but I like the hire. That being said, is he actually going to be able to instill his offensive principles? Is he going to be able to design an offense around Jalen Hurts that pushes him out of his comfort zone while still highlights the things that he is already good at? Or is it just going to be picking the same shit plays that Nick Sirianni runs over and over again? So that's going to be something that we have to wait and see. But for all the talk about how it's a high risk, it really can't get any more high. What's the worst that could happen? Nick Sirianni loses his job? Great. Like, I don't care anymore. I care more about how Jalen Hurts looks and the offense looks, and we've already maybe pushed A.J. Brown out the door. Maybe we pushed Devontae Smith out the door. So, yeah, it's high risk in that regard. But I'll go down swinging with this guy as opposed to Nick Sirianni. I've seen enough of his offenses over the last few years since he gave up control to Shane Steichen and then eventually took it back when he left. So he's got an impressive resume. I do like that we're seeing more backup quarterbacks become offensive coordinators and head coaches, and I believe part of the appeal of that is because they're backups, obviously, so they're not staying in one place for long. So in their short careers, and backups obviously have shorter careers than starters, they're going from one system to another, so they're taking in all this knowledge, and they're saying, okay, I like parts of this system, I like parts of that system, and they're putting it all together and creating their own system. So I do like that aspect of it, and it's kind of what you saw with Kellen Moore, and obviously when we had Kellen Moore, we won the Super Bowl, but even with Kellen Moore, we were running Nick Sirianni's offense. I want Nick Sirianni to let go of any little pride he has left, let go of his stubborn ways, and let Sean Mannion just be in charge of the entire offense. Now, obviously, Jeff Stoutland might be in charge of the run game. We saw reports earlier this week that he's not in charge of the run game anymore. I don't know. Obviously, he's not in charge of the entire offense. We have wide receiver coaches, we have tight end coaches, all that. But I want him to run his offense, his plays, his systems that are established in the spring and then reinforced in training camp in July, all the way into the preseason, all through the season. I don't want him calling plays that only Nick Sirianni gives him access to. I want him to come in with a blank slate and run his system how he sees fit. And you trust in him. And if it doesn't work, okay, that's fine. But we know the alternative with Nick Sirianni doesn't work. Not saying you can't win a Super Bowl with Nick Sirianni. We've seen it, but we're done with his offense. We're done with his offensive system. So I like the hire. High risk, but also high reward. So we'll see what happens. And hopefully there'll be a press conference in the days ahead where we get more information. So that's it for now. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. I am going to make a video either tonight or tomorrow. There's been some rumors about the Sixers and Giannis, and it's just absolute ridiculousness. So that's going to be my next video. But for now, that's it for the Eagles. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay warm. I will see you guys next time. Peace.